So last week we talked about snickerdoodles, and I mentioned that the reason I was thinking about snickerdoodles was because I had found a recipe that was a take on snickerdoodles, or at least those flavors, that I really want to do. But before I get into that, so you're going to have to wait a week, I'm sorry. Before I get into that, I thought I should talk about cinnamon, just the basic cinnamon itself. Um, I grew up in a small town in South Dakota, really small town. Um, there, when you went to the grocery store, you would find one kind of cinnamon, probably a brand name like McCormick. And it was great. It was what we knew, it was what we had. It worked for everything. It's what I think of when I think of cinnamon. But nowadays, if you go to somewhere, some bigger grocery stores, or we have a local food co-op that does a lot of organic foods, and you can do bulk spices. Or if you're not near one of those, you could go to penzies.com. Or if you're lucky like we are and you live in the Twin Cities, you can actually go to one of the Penzies stores, which if you've never been, is it's really exciting and incredibly overwhelming all at once. They have pretty much everything that they sell in their catalog available in the stores, but you can actually open containers and smell things. And so you can smell the different vanillas, because different vanillas smell different and they will work differently. Different cinnamons smell different. And then you can also get into all their mixed spices and everything else. But I can also do that at my local food co-op, which is really nice because then I don't have to make a special trip because I actually can go to the co-op on my way home from things. It's easier. Anyway, that being, be that as it may. Today's discussion is about cinnamon. And why am I talking about cinnamon? Well, as I mentioned last week, it's one of my favorite spices. I love it this time of year because cinnamon shows up in a lot. You get cinnamon sticks that are in apple cider. You get cinnamon chips in cookies. And you get cinnamon of all different kinds. If you make snickerdoodles, you get cinnamon on top. If you make spice cookies, you get cinnamon in them with the other spices. So if you're going to make an investment in your cinnamon, you need to choose the kind you want. Like I said, when I was growing up, there was just one. And so in my heart of hearts and in my palate of palates, that single cinnamon is one of the things that still works really well for me. And we do have something like that. We have a basic cinnamon in our cabinet. This is, I believe this was, in a former life, in a former packaging, it was Penzies cinnamon. Penzies itself, I believe, has 4 different varieties of cinnamon. They have an Indonesian and a Chinese and a Ceylon, and I don't know what the 4th one is. And unfortunately, I can Google it, but I had to Google it on my phone, which is what's recording me right now. So anyway, there are 4 different kinds that they have, and then they have just a generic cinnamon, and that generic cinnamon is a blend of all 4. The same thing's available at the co-op that I go to, and just below this, you'll see a photo of that, of all the containers of cinnamon at the co-op. So, why so many different things? They really do smell and taste different. Some of them, like the really basic blend of cinnamon just smells like you expect cinnamon to smell. If you're smelling a cinnamon oil or a cinnamon something like that, that's kind of what it smells like. This one is a Chinese cinnamon, and it's a little tangier, a little closer to what you get when you get like a cinnamon red hot. This one, which is, like I said, we have a bunch of cinnamons in the house. This one is a little bit more floral. Not as floral as, say, working with lavender or rose, but it definitely does have, it's not as a strong spice. It's more kind of a backgroundy scent to it. It's really nice smelling, though. And then, of course, we also have cinnamon sugar, which you can also buy by the jar if you don't want to just, get your cinnamon and your sugar and mix them together. Um, and so, since cinnamon is such a strong and intense flavor and is frequently the only flavor in something you're working with, the whole point of this today is to mention that I really think you should go out, try a few cinnamons, smell them, buy some small amounts, taste it, see how it works in the recipes that you're working with, see what you like, see what the people you're baking for like. I know Christopher and I actually have different opinions on what makes a good cinnamon. We don't like the same ones. I like that really kind of, you know, the basic blend of everything. He has a very specific one. He likes the Chinese. Um, and it works really well because we know which one's which and we have them labeled in the house. But so that's the whole thing. So before I give you the recipe that we're going to talk about next week, I thought I should talk about this first. So I hope that's okay with you, and I hope I didn't bore you with a long talk about cinnamon. And for now, I'm going to enjoy the fact that we have a sunny, kind of nice fall temperature day. It's not 90 degrees like it was last week, and it's not raining like it's supposed to do next week. So I'm going to enjoy this a little bit, try to get out of the kitchen, and I will see you in a week.